Hi, I'm Matthew Cox. I'm the Director of Community Services at the Red Cross, but I'm also involved in the Logan City of Choice process, which some of you may have heard of. One of the major initiatives that's come out of that process, the City of Choice process is a pretty comprehensive community and economic development strategy for the city. One of the things that's come out of that is a collective impact response to child and family outcomes in that community. Specifically, it's looking at children in the 0 to 8 cohort and taking a whole population approach to setting some universal goals for how those kids grow through ages and stages. So every family in a couple of core catchment areas is in scope. We're really interested to set some universal goals about what we'd like to see in cohorts of children as they're growing through those critical ages of 1, 3, 5, 3 to 8. And then organise the service system and the community infrastructure and the community engagement of Logan families to support those kids in the way they need to be supported as they grow through those ages and stages. So we know a lot about what we want to see in kids at those various ages, the whole mass of evidence to back up what healthy child development looks like. There's a whole lot of evidence also to say what families and caregivers need to be doing and the skills they need to have to support child development through those ages and stages. And we also know for folks who need some extra help, some targeted support, the sort of programs that work. So we know all this, what the collective impact approaches, which have come out mainly from the United States, achieve, is putting all of that in one system. If you like, creating a virtual organisation out of the contribution of dozens and dozens of different agencies and organisations and people. So in Cincinnati in the States, for instance, where this sort of program's pretty well developed, they've got about 216 different agencies coordinated to support children growing along that pipeline. So it's really, a couple of really important features. It is a whole of population approach. So we're not just waiting for families to hit some sort of crisis to get referred into the service system for some help. Everyone's included in this program. It's universal, it's non-stigmatising, it's focusing on making relationships at important capture points like the maternity ward, like school, and also in community situations like libraries and parks and sporting clubs, the places that people live their lives. So it's not about waiting for crisis to strike and then people to get referred into for help at a time of need. There's a really aggressive and assertive outreach and engagement aspect to it. And as I said, every family's in scope. That has a really nice side benefit, and it starts to build common social norms that are positive and about supporting healthy child development. So that's a really important aspect, the whole population approach. But really that concept that children grow through those ages and stages, and we need to support them through those ages and stages, and we need to make rational decisions in terms of how we organise the support system and the education system, the child maternal health system, specialist therapies, all that sort of good stuff. Kindergartens and through to the formal schooling system. We need to make decisions across that whole set of things in a rational and coordinated way. And so the collective impact approaches do that. They bring those dozens and dozens of people and agencies together to share a common plan, to share common goals, share a common plan, which the literature refers to as a roadmap. So everyone has that same roadmap in mind. They understand their contribution. So if you're a early childhood provider, or you're a specialist family support service, or you're a child therapist, then you understand how your contribution fits into that roadmap and you can play your part in a coordinated way with others. It's pretty important to have good governance and coordination resourcing across that really large spectrum of activity. So it does require some dedicated resourcing in this thing called the backbone organisation. Again, drawn straight from the American literature, this idea of a backbone organisation. It's not huge, but it's really important, about 4 to 6 people, with really good facilitation, data, analytics, communication skills to tie that community effort, that whole of community effort together, and to get agencies working together to hit those shared goals. And it's a long-term approach. So the sort of goals that we're setting in Logan are, in 10 years' time, we'd like to have closed the gap in early development outcomes measured through the AEDI at age 4 and 5 in the age 4 and 5 cohort. There's a gap between the achievement of the cohort in Logan and the Queensland average. We'd like to see that gap close. Similarly, when you get to grade 3 in NAPLAN at local schools, there's in some cases quite a significant gap between the Australian levels of achievement for an average cohort of age 8 children and what's been in the experience in a bunch of Logan schools. We want to see that change. We want to see material change on those really key indicators. And we're prepared to get together and make the hard decisions and the hard trade-offs in terms of the services that are provided and the services that need to be rationalised and the gaps where there's no service and there needs to be, working off that common roadmap and that common plan, and then engaging with the people with the checkbooks, the funders, people who write the service agreements, to spend to that plan that we've developed through consensus and through a collaboration and through a collaborative approach. So it promises much. It does seem to be working in the States. They're about 5 or 10 years ahead of us. And we're trying to pick up their best learnings and apply them in the Logan context. There's a huge amount of community mobilisation already occurring in Logan. Some fantastic work from agencies and networks already really doing a whole lot of really great collaborative work. But what's been really impactful is to have an organising framework for all of that to come together around some shared goals for children. And it's early days, but it's really an exciting development. And we've got an enormous amount of buy-in from local agencies, CEOs, local government officials who fund and direct some of that work, and increasingly also senior government stakeholders who can make the sort of strategic decisions that need to be made to realign services and fill gaps and all that sort of stuff. So it's exciting times. So I might make a few comments about the importance of focusing on engagement and outreach strategies for families. And I might start by proposing a comparison with, say, what happens in the private sector when there's products or services that private for-profit companies want us to consume, want us to buy with our own money. If you think about, say, a restaurant or a sporting goods company or a movie theatre or what have you, how much of their effort is consumed in producing the product that they want to deliver to us, as opposed to how much effort is consumed with getting us there as consumers, engaging us as consumers to turn up and participate in that product. If you think about how much of the cost goes into actually producing the experience or producing the item that you might buy, as opposed to all of the branding and the marketing and the retailing disciplines that allow you to bump into that product and consume it in some way. You know, what we know is that you can buy a generic brand product for a whole lot cheaper than a branded product. And I think that says something about the cost that goes into the branding and the engagement that commercial companies, the effort that they go to get you to engage with their product. So if we use that sort of metaphor and then think about our job in the human and social services, about how much effort do we put into delivering our service as opposed to getting people to engage with our service in the first place, so there is something to deliver. I think there's a really huge gap. I know from our work in the Red Cross, we've probably spent 95% of our effort actually doing the job once folks walk in the door. And we perhaps spend 5% meeting folks, building rapport, making the service opportunity possible in the first place. When it comes to issues around vulnerable families and children, where we know engagement is a critical issue, I think we've got a chronic problem in that we don't really seriously spend the resources, the time, the effort, don't seriously take that engagement task on as fully as we could. I think that's driven a lot by how we get paid to do the work, but perhaps also about some aspects of our practice or the front of mindness of how important that is in our practice. So what I'd like to throw out there for discussion and prompting is that in this fantastic opportunity we've got with the Carmody process and the reforms that are coming through, I'd like us to think about just what's the right amount of effort to focus on that first task of getting people to turn up, getting people to trust us, getting people to come into a relationship with us? How much effort do we spend there? How effective is that? As opposed to the effort that we spend when people do start to engage. And my proposition is that we need a whole lot more of the former. And that's about engaging people where they live their lives, where they choose to spend their time. And that might be at the library or the park or the pub or the pokies or the races or the sports ground or the touch footy club or the netball club or the chess club, wherever people spend their lives. I think we have to be, and we have to be relevant in that context if we're to hope to form a relationship with people which we can then use to support their behaviours and their capabilities as parents. See what you think, debate that one.
One of the initiatives that we've been working on is the collective impact framework that Matthew's just explained. I'd just like to talk a little bit about that from the perspective of a service provider. As a service provider, like someone like YFS, we're funded by state and federal government, by different government agencies within those governments, often with similar intent to work with people who are vulnerable, but often with competing agendas, competing goals, and also different silos within those areas. So the collective impact framework gives an opportunity for us to have those common goals, that they go across government departments, state and federal, and that there's a whole consistency in how we work with our clients and how an agency down the road or the local school that children might be going to are also going to be on the same page working towards those goals. As a service provider, one of the things that often happens is there's going to be multiple people involved in children and families' lives, but often there may be competing areas as to who's going to do what and as how that will happen. I think the collective framework with those galvanising goals gives us an opportunity to do that quite clearly and consistently. It also enables us to start measuring individuals and families so that we are going towards that common measure, and also provides an opportunity then to start seeing over time population measures and changes. The City of Choice Logan Plan has set a State of the City report with some evidence of where things are at now at the beginning of 2014, and by working towards some common goals, our dream will be to see some of those statistics that are quite high in areas such as low literacy, school performance, health and well-being of young children change over time because we're all on the same page. I think one of the challenges, no doubt, will be when you have a whole lot of service providers involved. It will be how there's always been that competing for who's going to do what. Again, this is an organised way for us to work quite, I guess, wisely on the limited resources we have. So how we can share what's pool of funds there are and what resources that maybe don't even need any more new funding, that we can sort of lay those out, map them out and be on the same page.